Scholars. I hope that you are having a great morning so far. Thank you for doing the right thing, coming in nicely, and being ready to work really hard today, even though I'm not there. I can't wait to come back and hear about hopefully our light being lit up and lots of good decisions made today. So let's be ready to read together and enjoy as we are going to continue learning about our big question of how can one person make a difference by having a helping attitude and spirit and make a difference in their communities. And today we're going to talk about making a difference in our country. We're going to read a biography, and we're going to think about the difference that was made for the civil rights movement. So we're going to be thinking about author's perspective today, what does that mean? That means that we're going to be thinking about how does the author of this text feel about the topic, and how do we know? How can we use evidence to support our thinking? So taking a look here, hopefully everybody is meeting me here on page 196, and you're also going to need your sticky notes. So please make sure you have sticky notes because we'll have one for each page that we read. And on our sticky notes in just a little bit, we will be taking note of extreme and absolute language on each page and some big contrasts and contradictions that we notice on each page, because paying attention to those extreme and absolute language words that the author chooses to use, and a lot of times thinking about these contrast and contradiction ideas that are different from maybe how we think things should be or that things are in our world. When we notice a big difference, usually the author wanted us to notice that difference on purpose, and it helps us to be a mind reader and think about how does this author feel. So this author is Jim Haskins. So first of all, we have to be thinking that each author is an actual person, right? And they have their actual own ideas inside their head, and they have their perspective about how things look to them in the world. And then when they're going to write about their topic, they choose very specific words and details to include in their pieces to help everybody else either understand their topic or sometimes to try to persuade other people to think the same way that they do. And our job as readers is to have to think, do we agree with this author? Do we maybe not agree with this author? And we want to do some more learning to see, is this author really giving us true facts? Today, we're going to be able to trust this author. This author is Jim Haskins, and we're going to try to be a mind reader and see if we can figure out how does Jim Haskins feel about this topic. You see the title is Delivering Justice. I'm sure that a few of you got giggles about that because of thinking of our sweet scholar Justice, right, Justice? But Justice has a really cool name because this book isn't written about our Justice Jones. This book is written about the idea of justice in our country. Justice meaning fairness, and this is going to be our gesture for being just and having justice, and fairness or unjust, and being the idea of injustice, in meaning not just, right? So unfair. So before we begin reading, you guys stay on that page. I'm going to click ahead quickly. You can kind of see a little preview of what we're going to be reading about here. And I just wanted to zoom in and show us a little bit about our author, because this can help us to kind of think about why Jim feels the way he does about his topic. All right, so here is our author, Jim Haskins. He was born in 1941 in Alabama at a time when the South was segregated. That's going to be another big word that we're going to be learning about. Segregated meaning kept apart. So Jim loved to read, but African Americans were not allowed to use the library. So that's that segregation part. When the Black Americans were kept segregated or apart in many ways from what white Americans were allowed to do. A white woman who knew Jim's mother agreed to check out books for him. Like Wesley Law, Jim fought for civil rights. Wesley Law is who we're going to be reading about today. So this author, Jim Haskins, also fought for civil rights. And as an author, he's won many awards for his books. All right, so this gives us a little bit of a background on our author, Jim. So he was born same year as my mom was born, actually, 1941. And so he was born at a time when he, as a child, was probably noticing many parts of his life that were unfair, right? And that had a big impact on him, so that when he became an adult, he wanted to write books to help people learn about it. Alrighty, so Benny, here's our illustrator. Benny Andrews' early days were spent picking cotton in Georgia with his parents and 9 siblings. His father painted in his free time and passed his love of art to his son. Benny became a world famous painter and was a teacher for many years. Like Wesley Law and Jim Haskins, Benny Andrews fought for equal rights for all people. Right away, hearing that extreme and absolute language, right? So Benny Andrews is the illustrator, and he decided to work with Jim Haskins together. They combined their words plus the illustrations to help us as readers have this understanding of how Wesley Law actually made a difference in the civil rights movement. So we're reading a biography. I'm going to come back to our beginning page here. So we're reading a biography about delivering justice, which is W.W. Law and the Fight for Civil Rights. So W.W. Law is Wesley Law. Isn't that cool that his last name is Law? And he's actually like fighting to have fair laws in our country. It's almost like he was destined to make a difference with civil rights because of his last name. Alrighty, so we're going to learn about him and take a look at the illustration that we have on the front cover is this nice little town, and there's actually a mailman delivering mail. So I'm wondering if is justice really something that can be delivered like that, or is it meaning more deliver justice, like bring justice to the world? So we'll keep that in mind as we read. Alrighty, so first, before we jump into our reading, we're going to do some vocabulary learning, and we're going to watch a video about author's perspective. So go ahead, and we're going to